So we've got a few minutes for tonight, and did what we talked about tonight bring up any questions or
Did
comments?
we hit any nerves?
Anything?
I remember some of the stuff from ResCon, but you talked about the invite you into my process, and I think about that more regularly than I do it, than I have done it since ResCon, but it's been really helpful language to use.
Good.
Like, okay, instead of getting mad or frustrated with this thing, I'm gonna say, let me invite you into my process of how I think about this and what makes sense in my brain. That's been really helpful.
Actually, when she did that, I knew what she was doing. I knew she was making that choice. And it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me because it would have been very easy to not say it that way. It was very helpful, so it's good.
You know, we set up systems, and sometimes they work, or sometimes a system will look really great on paper, right? And so in the healthy habits and healthy rhythms, it's good to go and reevaluate sometimes. Is this idea that is this working? And instead of, you said you were, now, there seems to be a glitch in the system. Let's figure that out. Attacking the problem rather than. Anybody else? Boy, it's quiet.
Do you guys have any general advice for our specific season of marriage? Like we're all probably 5 to 10 years in, so many of us have young kids. Is there anything you'd say directly to that small people?
Do you remember?
Oh, gosh.
In case I don't remember to say this tomorrow, and I did say this at ResCon, one of the things that was really helpful for us when our kids were young and at home is that it was so easy for the schedule to fill up and us not have time for each other and just be running all the time because we always fell behind. So about every 3 months, we would have, and I don't know why we called it this, a council meeting. We called it, it's time to have a council meeting. And what that meant was me and her going to get pie. And we would take our calendars. And so when we were at our best, sometimes we would miss the 3-month mark. But when we were really doing it, we would schedule the next 6 months. So we'd meet every 3, we'd schedule the next 6. And so what we were doing was putting on the calendar our stuff first. The most important stuff first. So we put date nights. We'd put times we're going to get away as a family. And that way, when other stuff would come up, we'd be like, oh man, I already got something there. And that helped us because in this season, I mean, I don't know if it ever slows down, but it does change based on the age of your kids. But life's always like that. It's always invading the most important parts. And so that was a helpful thing to us. Just pie helps, by the way. Some kind of food, some kind of that you look forward to.
Celebration.
Yeah. But setting that time. And then, of course, you have to schedule your next council meeting while you're scheduling, or it won't happen because life gets filled up. So that's a first thought that we did do a lot that was very helpful to us. Yeah.
Also, I would say, for y'all who are parents, this season you're in is kind of like a Doctor Who telephone booth in that it feels eternal while you're in it. And it is a very short season. But when you're in it, it feels forever. But there's gonna come a day, and the thing that's weird about it is you don't even recognize the day when it happens. But there will be a day when this season is over. This is not the rest of your life. It's just, I would say that.
It's a great season, but it's a tiring season.
It's
It's physically tiring when you have little kids. And but keep fighting for your marriage in the midst of this. Mm-hmm. Making those choices, because everything wants to pull you apart.
Have you ever watched somebody juggle? You know, they start with 2 balls and they add a 3rd ball. And then somebody throws them a 4th ball and the pattern changes. You know, it's like, does anybody juggle in here? It's like the odd number balls and the even number balls. Is that right?
Four, you like go around in a circle, and
Yeah.
3, you're like,
Yeah.
Triangles, yeah.
I can't do 4, I can only do 3.
Okay, so, but depending on the number of balls you have, the pattern changes. And this is the metaphor of your life. In this season of life, you're adding more balls. So you have to adjust, always reevaluating. That council thing, thank you for remembering that, because every once in a while you gotta say, hey, is this working? You know, everything you eat, everything you consume, everything you sleep on, sit on, lay on, drive, if you were in the process of conceiving it or adopting it, regardless, all of these things take thought and maintenance and energy. And so the more of those things you put in, what used to be solely Tracy's job, some of that has to go to Preston now. What used to be, just what some of the things that Preston was doing, now he has to hand off to Tracy or maybe to someone else. I'm sorry I just used y'all as an example. Y'all were just in my line of right. Okay, but so we reevaluating. And when you do that and you have a scheduled time, you don't have to emotionally vomit. You can save it for the council meeting and you can talk about it without being so hateful. So, yes.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, go for it.
You kind of touched on this with the council meeting a little bit, but any suggestions for like big decision making together?
Our experience has been, when we've made big decisions, we can talk about this more. My view as from Ephesians 5 as the leader is it's kind of the picture of that we are a team. And if the Lord has given us as husbands I would say almost the burden of the leader. It's not some position of power. It's a burden. And the best leaders are not dictators. The best leaders are those who value the gifts and the input of those around them. So major decisions, we make sure I want to know everything she thinks, and she wants to know what I'm thinking. We've often taken some time to pray separately. And like if it was about, where there were times when our church was in a building campaign, we would pray about what to give. We came back with almost the same numbers after praying together.
Praying separately.
Yeah, and then coming together, yeah. Moving from Monmouth to Gresham to a pastor there. She didn't really want to. But I said, if you love God, you will get in that car. Of course I didn't say that. But I needed to hear from her. I don't really want to do this, but it's very evident the Lord is at work here. And so that's actually one of the very few times where it was
I had to trust that
it was
you
something
were
I
doing
felt like we really are supposed to do this. But we do a lot of discussing. It's hard to count on one hand the number of decisions that I made, major decisions that were opposite of what we really try to be unified in what we've done. I don't know if that's the direction of the question you're asking.
I was gonna say about that too. One thing that made it easy for me in that time when he felt like he was being led to do something and I didn't want to do it. One thing that was very helpful for me to be able to trust him is that he has proven himself to be trustworthy, to follow the Lord. He wasn't going off half-cocked all the time, and so I could trust him, even though I did not get at that point my own from the Lord thing. I could trust him that he had. And so, men, you have a hard job as leaders, and I don't want to diminish that in any way. But part of that job is to be trustworthy. So.
I think there's more we could say to that, but I think it's a very important question.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to paint the picture here because I'm not sure if my question makes a lot of sense. So, we all were single at one point in discipleship groups, being sanctified by brothers and sisters around us. Got married, and now we're trying to learn how to be married. There's conferences, that's really wonderful. And then we're also in discipleship groups still. We're still learning how to do that with brothers, right, and sisters in Christ, and huddles and whatnot. I'm curious, like, what you guys have learned about doing that as couples with each other, like how to bring other couples into your marriage, especially in the younger seasons of life. We're busy. I feel like there's like an era of we're all trying to figure it out too, and so sometimes hard to say it's messy, and it's like there's a reality of like don't need to always just go pay for a professional counselor, right? Like we are the church, so we have to. Sorry, we don't have to. We don't have to. I'm just curious. What have you guys learned in the season of bringing others into your guys' marriage? Tips and tricks for us as we try to figure that out.
Comes to your mind.
And maybe if I could add tell me if this is way off what you're, tips and tricks for when pretty much all the married couples around you are in roughly the same stage
Yeah.
as you. Yeah. So there's almost like a competitive pride, like, why would you be able to tell me what's what?
And then also maybe not a freedom to really share if we're struggling or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I think y'all live in a hard time because of the age of information. There are 8 gazillion voices yelling at you, this is what you're supposed to look like, including Christian voices who are telling you, if you don't do these 3 things and read my book and do this thing, then you're not. And some of you have read the book and done the thing, and it's not turning out like they guaranteed in the book. And these are hard times. They're hard times. But what I want to say to you, impress upon you. Here I go. You're getting the look. I'm about to go off, that's why. Okay.
That's what we want.
You were bought with a price. Before the foundation of the world, Ephesians says that God thought of you, created you, chose you, adopted you into the family, redeemed you of everything, and set upon you the seal of the Spirit, which is just a down payment of what your inheritance is going to be. I'll stop looking at you so you don't feel like I'm yelling at you. I'm not yelling at him. And Jesus promised us that he was going to send that Spirit, right? And what was that Spirit going to do? He was going to lead us into all truth and convict us of sin. There's a third one, I think, but I can't remember it right now, okay? And what did Paul say? Paul said, well, I already told you what Paul said in Ephesians, okay? So my point is, of all the podcasts, blogs, books, videos, and everything that you have available to you, the unique thing to each of you as believers is that you have the Holy Spirit of the living God within you to lead you into all truth. Now, I'm not saying don't read any books, okay? But I'm saying before you go to, I don't know, in our day it was James Dobson, I don't know who it is now, but before you go to anyone else, remind yourself that God speaks and his sheep hear and know his voice. Solomon was about to become king and he said, I don't know how to be king. God said, ask me anything, I'll give you anything you want. And he says, I need wisdom. And God is so pleased with that answer that he only gives him wisdom to become what was considered the wisest man ever to have lived. He also gave him riches. He expanded his kingdom. People came from all over to get questions from him. I want you to know that you can ask for that same wisdom. James says, if you don't have wisdom, what are you supposed to do? Ask. And I'll give it graciously without reproach. And we don't have it because we don't ask. So I want you, we are so accustomed to saying, I am stupid, or I didn't have that background, or my parents did this, or whatever. But I want you to know that your Redeemer is faithful and true to you. And so before all of those things, I would say walk with the Spirit. I would also say that the God who created 8 gazillion different shades of green between here and Pullman, Washington that we saw today, that creator is equally as able to create a unique marriage and unique children in your life. So you may do it this way, and you may do it this way, and that does not mean that one of you is wrong. It just means that if we are all walking in the Spirit, we're going to be obedient to the Spirit, which is the key to everything. I will stop.
Well, it's certainly part of it, isn't it? I mean, we have to, I think sometimes we diminish, Lord, show us what you want us to do. I do think that one of the challenges, there's so many benefits of Resonate and us being a young church, but one of the challenges is if we're all kind of in the same season at the same time, how do we don't know how to help each other because we're all struggling with the same things. And if I wasn't in Resonate, so I'll say the same thing. Find a mentor or two that's a little further down the road. I don't care if it's even 5 years. But find some folks that you can ask, but you want to make sure that their life looks the way you want your life to look before you're asking counsel from them. That's true about anybody you go to counsel about. So I'm not solving the issue if you're all the same, but
What you can do is pray for each other, pray together, pray separately, but pray together.
I think too, something to pray for is some folks a little bit further down the road when it comes to marriage and parenting and those kind of things. And we're happy to be a help
Yeah.
if we can be as well.
I have a question. I think it could be quick. I'm assuming that you have some of these stories, but like a moment where either you or either of you, but I'm guessing it was you, but you realized you had an expectation that was a little bit whack, but like you didn't realize, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a moment of like, oh, I'm disappointed and like you should have done this and you then did it. But a moment where it was like, maybe Keith, you were like, I don't know if that's a fair expectation, or like what that moment or conversation looks like, or can look like. Or for you, Bev, to realize like,
Well, the answer would be yes. But I don't have a specific one in mind. Do
It
you?
blurs. There were so many. I think I read a lot of books and watched a lot of movies that ended and they lived happily ever after. And I think I thought that was what life was supposed to be like. So basically, anytime. In my mind, what comes up, and I'm trying to get it to boot up, Stephen Curtis Chapman. Have any of y'all ever heard of him? He's a Christian guy, artist guy, and I really like who he is and what he stands for. And he was coming to town, and I said to Keith, Stephen Curtis Chapman is coming to town. I want to go. Then there's a blank. Do you remember? You nodded. Do you remember any more about that story?
Just remember it didn't end well. And I think it was a decision I made because we were so low on money.
We had no money.
Yeah. So that doesn't really help.
But, so what ended up happening was here's a good one. This is good. We got married in December. I love the beach. And by beach, I mean Hawaii. And we went to Vancouver, British Columbia, on our honeymoon in December, which is not Hawaii, okay? And that was okay.
Be a student of your spouse.
So we said, on our 5-year anniversary, we'll go to Hawaii. And we were still paying for the first baby and about to give birth to the second. So there was no Hawaii. We said, we'll go at 10. 10 years, guys. We're going to go to Hawaii. Oh, no, we're poorer than we were at 5 years. So we're not going to Hawaii. So we ended up, somebody told us about this ministry on the Oregon coast that lets pastors stay there for free. Okay, that's what we'll do. Keith tells me about it. I'm like, okay, we will go to Hawaii.
On our
and
10th.
we'll be brave. Yeah, on our 10th. So we go, and this is before GPS and all that stuff, and internet. So when we get there, it turns out it's not an Airbnb type sitch. It's like going to your Aunt Melba's house, and they put us in the middle bedroom upstairs, 2 rooms down for the bathroom, in like cousin Billy's room. You know what I'm saying? You were just in this room in these people's house. And when we first got there, they said, they emailed us, we're so happy that you're celebrating your anniversary with us. We'd like to have you for dinner. So we go down from Aunt Cousin Billy's room to the kitchen table, which is in the kitchen. And they say, we're so happy. Here is your lentil soup, which was our 10th anniversary dinner.
So she's crying during the prayer. But, so, let's just,
Yeah.
so that was an expectation. I don't know if that was an unrealistic one. I mean, I could understand why she's upset. But if we think about it, we can have them. And I think it's good to recognize.
Yeah.
We come in with them, what ones are gonna be helpful. So many of them are just based on what we knew in our own family, right? Well, this is how you do it. Except your spouse is thinking the same thing. They're not necessarily right or wrong, they're just new ones. But I'm sure we think
We're
about
able,
that.
my dad cooked.
Good to recognize those things.
On special occasions, my dad cooked. He was a pastor who, preaching, he's good at it, but it's not his wheelhouse. It was exhausting to him. So he would come home exhausted and not cook. And I'd be mad at him for not helping me get ready for the company. It was realistic in a way, but also considering who he was and his burden that he bear, it was not realistic for me to expect him. So I had to adjust. We had that conversation, unrealistic expectations, probably about 8,000 times in the first 10 years of marriage, because all of mine, in every area, was unrealistic.
And did y'all recognize your own unrealistic expectation, or did you ever point it out in the other person, or both? Or,
I did not in the beginning
okay.
You didn't recognize?
recognize that they were unrealistic, because it was the world order, and I had to learn. And it took many times of talking about it before I began to understand. Yeah, this is.
I think it probably took me a while too to go, maybe I should be expecting this. Maybe I'm just wrong, or
Yeah.
it takes a while to.
So mine were over-realistic. There came a point when we had a conversation where I said, I've given up all my hopes. There's nothing left. There's no castle. There's not even a foundation. So you're gonna have to do some stepping up. And that was true. And he did. So we grew to the middle. Is that okay? You're looking at me, did I just cross a line?
Oh, I wish I had better memory. I don't remember these conversations. Maybe I just blocked them out because they were painful. We wanna honor your time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.